Stitched me up. He stitched me up again.
False starts.
Every episode. Yeah, false starts. Like, this is a thing that I have to deal with these guys. Like, look at these two, Blake and Jasper, and they're just sitting there, just doing false starts and stuff. What episode are we up to? Guys, come on. You're onto it? Are you onto it? I don't know. Where's the mic? Are you onto it? Oh, here we go.
225.
Oh, just a little bit.
225? 225.
So 5 off.
That's it. No,
Because you came on episode 110 then. Right?
I did. Yeah. So almost literally double the time. And yeah, I mean, look, heaps has changed. Obviously, still doing a lot of the same stuff. But
yeah, so like, just do a little recap. So just like, for people that don't know who you are, because you've got a pretty cool event in the city, right?
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, look, my name's Zac. DJ name is WHYZE, and I run Restless, which is our main thing at the moment is Sunday house music in Northbridge. So we do every single Sunday at Northbridge Brewing Company, which is pretty like a massive opportunity for us, because obviously we've only just moved there this month, but being right.
Is it really that recent? I thought you'd been there for a while. I think you actually did mention to me that you have recently.
Yeah, no, it was we were doing, obviously when we first started, we were doing monthly events, at the Rechabite stables, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, we just kind of made the decision a year ago or about a year and a half ago, that I think we just really needed something that was like consistent and something that was every single week, rather than this kind of disjointed, like jumping around and different venues and different places. We made the decision, and we went to Prince Lane at the beginning. And
is that place still open, Prince Lane?
Yeah. It's just down in I think Murray Street it was.
Yeah, 'cause it's down the corridor, right? And then there was the Sparrow or something like that at the back.
Yeah, there's a few little new bars down in that laneway as well. And I was looking all through those like spots when we were looking for a new spot. But we really wanted to maintain that like rooftop aesthetic that we had. Or like at least the non-negotiable was that there was an outdoor dance floor with a smoking area, and like that was the main thing. So we did Prince Lane for a little bit, which was awesome. And then we moved to Sir Henry's in the city, and we were there for like 6 months. And I think that's probably where we like did the majority of our growth. Like I think it just really comes down to being consistent and like every single week.
That's it. Yeah, you got it. That's what we were talking about just before we went live. It's like, you got to keep doing it every single week.
Show up. Yeah.
Even though it's like, it might be like a bad week or this or that or whatever the go is, you got to keep doing it.
Exactly.
Keep trucking on.
Yeah, I think it just, especially when you're talking about something that is like what we're doing is much... like I would say almost a different game to what you're doing when you're hosting these ticketed events. It's very much like a swing every time you go for an event, and sometimes you hit and sometimes you miss. But
so yours is a free event then on the Sunday.
Yeah. So what we're doing now is we wanted to strip it back, make it weekly instead of monthly.
That's all good.
Yeah.
So you're gonna strip it back and like what? Sorry.
So strip it back, make it weekly, and make it free entry for everybody. And we just do like 4 p.m. till midnight, and just make that every single week. So.
See, that's what needs to that'd be really good. That would be really good, because there needs to be more things like this in the city. There needs to be like where it's consistent, it's every week, and like after a period of time maybe like move venue or do this or do that, but have a good block where people know that they can find you. People are lazy.
I mean, like I think that the thing is, like after we kind of had the big COVID crash, and like obviously there was a lot of a massive hit that we all took from that. Restless started during that time, so there was also a lot of kind of like rebirth that came from it as well. But ever since that point, we didn't really have like a social anymore. Like it just kind of felt like everything was events, and everything was scaling up, and everyone was trying to rebuild by bringing artists and things back. And I just thought that if we kind of created that space where you are actually able to go there week in, week out, and it's one of those things where people come, they talk about what they did on Saturday the night before, they talk about what they're going to do next weekend, then I guess like the whole scene benefits.
That's it. That's it. Everyone works together in a way.
Yeah, I feel like I think obviously being on the promoter side of it now for like 3 and a bit years, it's definitely, you see a different side to the coin How did you get into the promoter side of it? Just for people that want to look into. Like, do you just want to create an event, and like, did you go to events prior, or? I mean, yeah, like obviously I was DJing for a few years prior. There's I think it's kind of just like the same mentality as you got to apply to everything. Just kind of do it and just push forward. And like, you know, the decision was just one day when, you know, we kind of went through that huge like crash where, you know, I know within Perth, like drum and bass and techno and stuff have all got their own like unique scenes, but I just really felt that, you know, with house music, we kind of, you know, we lost Nevermind. Geisha shut down and did their renovations, and then we got the COVID lockdowns, you know, all basically within a 12-month period. So, you know, we just really didn't have anything, and, you know, a lot of the events went down, and there was not really many spaces, and we kind of just wanted to not only create a place that where we could, like, you know, bring our friends on Sundays, but then also, you know, Restless has like a special, I guess, niche as far as like minimal and deep tech music goes. So, you know, whilst it is, we just say it's generally underground house, I guess that would be, you know, what our niche specifically is.
It's pretty good though, because that's like, you've got the niche genre, you make it work, you've been around, like, you know, you're pushing the events out, and now you're going for the weekly. It's awesome. It's all lining up by the sounds of it. So
yeah, I think it's like, you know, trying to, like, you look at a lot of different paths. You know, when we first came in, it was like, you know, like I said, doing these like monthly events, everything was ticketed, we were working towards bringing internationals, and it was, you know, just kind of playing that event-based game. But I still want to do that, you know. Obviously we're doing excuse me, the New Year's Eve event, so, you know, we're going to do like special things for these kinds of, look, New Year's Eve is coming up. We've also got like a collab with Faded in February, where we're bringing Alicia from the UK, so, you know, also bringing internationals still. But, you know, we really wanted this Restless Sundays.
And that's really not that bad. It's only $10.
It's $10, and it's actually only $10 for the rooftop. So for New Year's Eve, we're doing the terrace like we do every Sunday
at Northbridge Brewing
Company. And then we're also doing like a rooftop, like a hidden garden kind of thing. So we're going to really spruce that up with like decorations and stuff. And then the rooftop only has a capacity of 50, so we're just going to sell a limited amount of tickets, just try and get like a lot of our regular crowd in, and then obviously downstairs the terrace is just open to the public, so that's free entry on New Year's Eve as well.
That's pretty good. That's really good, because then you're not excluding anyone, but there's the option to go upstairs anyway.
Of course.
Plus you're in the heart of the city as well.
Yeah, certainly.
For New Year's Eve, that's probably go off. It's probably a big one.
Yeah, I mean, like, obviously, you know, I understand, like, when you're putting a lot of production into it, or like, for instance, with this collab that we're doing in February, where we're bringing an international DJ, there's a lot of costs there, so you have to obviously charge tickets and things like that. But, you know, for what we're doing on this Sundays at the moment, you know, we really just wanted to make it accessible. So, like I said, it's every single week, stays open till midnight regardless. It's free entry all night. You know, if you join NBC's Beerland app, then you also get drink specials as well. So whilst we are still working on bigger things in the background, like the Restless Sundays really was something that we wanted to use to kind of like bring the community together a little bit, you know.
And so you've got them listed as well, so RS39 and RA029 Restless New Year's Eve. So what do the numbers mean on out of curiosity?
This is me maybe just a little bit OCD with things. I just look, I mean, I look like, essentially, you know, I've got an awesome team of like 15 DJs, but as far as like the administration, you know, a lot of it I try and do in the back end, and
it's a lot of work.
It is, you know, like
a lot of
anybody that even runs monthly events will tell you that it's a lot. And, you know, obviously
people just don't see it. Like, throw an event just to get my mates to come.
There is a lot of back end work that is required for sure. I mean, and those numbers, you know, they just it's the same across the board. So like the RS, for instance, is just Restless Sundays, and we're currently doing the 39th one of those.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's really good. Yeah.
The RES is just standard Restless events. So, you know, that's things like our birthday, the recent takeover we did at Freo, and all including the ticketed events that we did when we were at the Rechabite and stuff. So we're up to the 29th one of those.
For the one in Freo, so like a takeover. So what was in, like, how did that work?
That was just like a normal event at like Freo Social, you know. We just wanted to go down there and just put our footprint there a little bit like that. So, you know, ideally for me, the best the best situation for me would be that Restless Sundays is running every single week and obviously doing its thing as far as, you know, community building and pushing the sound where it can, but then, you know, like also doing, say, like a monthly event where, you know, it's
something big.
Yeah, like at a different location, or we're bringing in international or something like that.
That's good though, because then it's like you're keeping everyone busy with the Sundays, but then you also are throwing in an international guest or some sort of big event.
Ideally,
to try and get new people in,
or even we've also got like a record label attached to it as well. So, you know, if we get to the point where we're doing like regular album releases, then, you know, so far everybody that's released on the almost everybody that's released on the label is from Perth. So if we continue that up, then you've also got like album releases and album parties that can come with it as well.
So what's the album, the record label called?
It's just Restless Australia. So, you know, we just growed it off the back. If you go like, to the releases thing, you know, we released like a VA which had a collection of all different artists, and then we've just released a couple of different VAs with a couple of different a VA for various artists.
Okay,
so that was the first one that we released, and that had 9 artists over 8 tracks. And then after that, we've also just released a couple of albums from one of our residents, and then a few other people as well.
That's awesome. So with your residents though, so how many resident DJs do you have, like, stockpile?
Yeah, look, it's growing rapidly, which is awesome, because, you know, obviously a big thing for us is like the minimal and deep tech side of sound. You know, like it's not too underground to the point where it's not palatable, but, you know, we really still want to try and like uplift that sound as much as possible, and having so many like DJs that specialize in that as part of our core team, and then having guests that kind of bring in a little bit of added flavor and a little bit of like different sound all over the time, you know. But to answer your question, including myself, I think it's currently 15 at the moment. 15.
That's a good number.
It is.
It's a very good number. You could put on 3 events technically.
Well, ideally, that's the thing. At the moment, you know, there is enough for everybody to, you know, we try and make sure that everybody on the team gets one a month, you know, 1 slot a month, and then, you know, that allows room for guests and stuff to come on for the Sundays. But, you know, obviously as we grow, then I also make sure that whenever I get we get approached for like takeovers at festivals or other events, and, you know, that's also a good feeling for me to be able to push my DJs and give them slots.
That's it, yeah. Actually be able to give them opportunity to go and play at certain places to do a takeover or whatever. Yeah.
And like I break it down into like 3 different categories. So we've got we've got like the resident promoters, which are, you know, just they help promote the event, share stuff on social media, you know, like everyone's a DJ, but then, you know, they also have like an additional task, I guess, or an additional role that you could put it to. So the promoters obviously do the promoting and kind of help with that. We also have a bunch of producers, which, you know, specifically are just producers, and as we start to kind of get the albums flowing, then, you know, hopefully they'll pad that out and we'll be able to help push their music as well.
That's incredible. That's so good. You're doing so much for the scene. Like.
Well, and then we also have, like, I think the thing that we've added the most, and the thing that I kind of really am like the most proud of now, is like what we call fledglings, which is obviously like the term for a baby owl, but
that's cool.
Yeah, like they're like, you know, newer upcoming DJs that, you know, may have only just got started when they had, you know, first joined on with us, and to see, you know, their progression is probably, that's the most rewarding thing, you know, like there's
giving them the opportunity and then seeing where they go, and then watching them flourish and spread their wings in a way, and almost not fly away, but not just yet.
Well, actually, I mean, look, that's the thing, is some of our residents obviously are overseas at the moment, and you know, some of them are living overseas, so
they have flown away.
Yeah, exactly, they have flown away, but you know, they're also, you know, for instance, one of our DJs, Martina's flying back soon, so, you know, they kind of be able to now come and go, and they've always got a place here, you know, so making sure they've still got gigs available. And then it's also awesome to see them in other places around the world, you know, playing to different crowds, and, you know, wearing the shirt that we gave them, or, you know, in Martina's case, has the tattoo on her arm of the logo. You know,
really, the logo of the owl.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was one of those things where I was like, damn, she got to it before I did. So I'll have to catch up and get them.
Did you give a bunch of stickers to them as well?
Yeah, I mean, like
slap them around everywhere.
Well, that's the thing, you know, we obviously, it's a little bit difficult at the moment because the event is free entry, so, you know, obviously obviously that therefore means that the venue has to cop the cost, and with that, you know, we've only just got it so, you know, our DJs all get paid, equipment's paid for, and there's you know, photography and things like that. But then, you know, the idea of like growing it, a lot of that obviously comes from like self-funding or just kind of like scrounging together little bits here and there. So you know, I guess it's that kind of balance, because, you know, by making it this way, we can make it free entry and we don't have to start charging,
which is really important, because that's where it is. Like, you know, ticketed events kind of can be, you know, to sell enough tickets to stay afloat, to be able to get people to pay the money to come to your event. Yeah, it's like, it can be difficult.
It's all like, it's also one of those ones where, like, especially when you're like starting an event, and I remember in our first couple of years, you know, there was times where, you know, you'd throw an event, and just through other things being on or poor weather or whatever, you know, you would take such a hit that you almost like couldn't throw an event for another few months, you know, and then all of a sudden you lose your consistency, and then everything starts to drip away. And, you know, like, really what we still, like I said, we're still doing these ticketed events where we want to try and grow and like bring international DJs and do cool stuff, but really what it comes down to is just with the Sundays, like, just making it consistent, you know? Making it reliable for people.
That's it. And making it fun, enjoyable, and free as well. Like, because that's where it makes sense. Like, you know, if you are getting internationals in, you got to pay them somehow, right?
Yeah, exactly. You know,
like, they don't come over for free. So.
No. I mean, like, you know, we don't expect anybody to play for free. Obviously, you know, like, a lot of people are very happy to play, and, you know, obviously it's always appreciated because all that money always goes straight back into the event. But we made sure from the get-go that, you know, even if Restless itself doesn't make money from the Sundays, it's making sure that there is this space available.
That's it. Yeah. So then with it, like, how, because you've been going for how long now? Like 4 years. Yeah,
Restless as a whole just had its third birthday. So that was in October. And, you know, we did it on the Sunday, just did it as a normal thing. We also made that free entry as well. But really, when it comes down to it, the Sundays themselves, like, as you saw before, I think we're up to 39. So almost a year of regular Sundays.
That's pretty good.
And
really,
it's a different ball game, you know. Like you said, you're not having the stress of selling tickets, but, you know, it's you're looking at it from more of a I guess a step back. Like, what were the last couple of events, and, you know, did we grow or did we shrink?
That's what a lot of people don't realize, is just how much stress is involved. Like, so much stress. But if you throw in a free event, people can come if they want. That's like, there's no pressure to be able to go, I gotta pay the bills, like, you know, or like this or that, or, you know, gotta.
I guess the main thing is it still has to be viable for the venues, right? Because at the end of the day, like, it's hard, because I think anybody will face this when they're like working in the, I guess, entertainment industry, right? It's like that kind of balance between like freedom of expression and art, and then also like
paying the bills,
feeding yourself. You know?
That's it.
That's other thing.
That's where it is unfortunate. Where it's like, I do find that some venues, it's like they do just count dollars and cents without seeing the passion, the idea, and like that it could work. Even as a promotional thing, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know, but
Well, you know, you like, you are right, and that is definitely a difficult thing, and I think, you know, this is honestly like maybe quite surprisingly, because of the location, and they've been quite a long-standing venue. Like, NBC have been absolutely great to us. Like, they have.
That's awesome.
And to see a venue come to the plate like that, and say, you know, we actually believe in what you're doing. So, like, what can we do to help? And, you know, going above and beyond on their end.
Big shout out to NBC. Can we pull them up? Do they still do the pizzas?
Yeah. So obviously on Sundays. On Sundays they do pizzas and chips and stuff. And, you know, they've also said to us, like, you know, we obviously just do the bottom floor at the moment, but, you know, as we grow, that, you know, we have ideas of things that we want to do. For instance, like, I would really love to have like vinyl sessions on the rooftop.
That'd be so cool.
You know, and or like even just crew takeovers on the rooftop, just to kind of showcase more about, you know, more Perth in general. But you know, I guess, like, it's just about, you know, at the moment, the crowd, you don't want to split it, you know, so it's just all about, like I said before, really taking a macro look at it, stepping back and saying, any idea that we have is amazing, but it may take 3 to 5 months to actually implement.
Yeah, that's it. That's the biggest thing, mate, is it has to grow. People have to just realize that this is a consistent thing, and then it'll get bigger and better and better. And the best time to do it usually is just before the end of winter, I reckon. Coming into summer and spring and everything like that, and autumn and the whole lot. But then you know, then when it comes to next winter, you hopefully have those regulars.
Yeah, well, to be
build up
fair,
the next summer,
like that's kind of the approach that I took almost. But you know, with Sundays, we actually started like almost at the beginning of winter. I think it was like March or April when we started doing the Sundays. And like, you know, again, this weekly thing has humbled me and taught me a lot in a lot of ways. But you know, there was a period there where, you know, as we kind of started to see that growth over winter, you really drew in the people that were like passionate about the sound. They were passionate about, you know, seeing their friends there, and we built this, you know, like community, honestly, like bless them. There's a, you know, there's a handful of people that you can almost count on to be there all the time, and those, you know, like that's kind of, again, like talking about things that are rewarding, is to see faces that have now become Restless regulars that I may have never seen before in my entire life, and knowing that we are actually starting to create something that people care about and something that people want to.
And so you're creating movement. That's
I mean, look, at the end, like, again, we do get this a lot. Obviously, being on Sundays and being, you know, underground house music and stuff, there is a lot of similarities. And look, I would say I take massive inspiration from what Ace did. Like, I don't think that we'll ever even be able to hold a candle to what.
Can we put Nevermind Small Club?
Oh, honestly, like again, I don't know if we'll ever be able to hold a candle to what he did for the scene, because, you know, again, I even like feel like tingly fit like talking about it. But, you know, for me, finding Nevermind and finding movement was. Like, obviously I had friends that had invited me and stuff like that, but it was the first time in my like adult life that I kind of like felt like I was a part of something that wasn't just rocking up to work and doing my job. Yeah. So, you know,
actual movement.
It was like, you know, and that's the thing, and you know, that's obviously like it got to the point where it was a regular thing for us. It was out every single week, and you know what he did there is like, you know, I don't know if it ever can be replicated, but you know, at the end of the day, we also have, I always say this, there's like two sides of the coin to Restless, because on one side we are definitely trying to elevate a sound. That's why we have residents, that's why we do the record label. But then on the other side of the coin, there is that thing that, you know, like I think that's what almost made that scene so strong at that time, was the fact that we could all go somewhere and, you know, like talk about what we were doing next weekend, talk about what we were doing last night.
It's a place to hang out. Listen to good tunes and just talk and catch up. Like back in the day, I used to love the amplifier smoking section for that, because you just go out there and be like, "Oh, can't pinch a lighter." You know, obviously I was punching darts back then. But you go out there and you just like, "Oh, can't pinch a lighter. How's your night been? Who are you?" No. And then you just start socializing, and then there's just so much fun, and you're meeting people, and then like they're regulars that were going to Amplify every week. Yeah. Just like, you know, regulars that go to your events.
So many, like, you know,
it's so good, right? Like, you got to have these people. Like.
So many of my friends still today are people that I met there, you know. So it is one of those things where like it's different when you're going out on a Friday or a Saturday night. Like, I just feel like there's maybe a little bit of a different energy to it, you know, when it's much louder, it's darker. You know, having these kind of like Sunday events where you are outside and people can kind of chill and smoke, and it's loud, but it's not like club loud. It's a much more conducive environment for these kind of, you know, like, I guess discussions that aren't like, "Hey mate, how are you going?" You know.
No, that's it. Yeah.
And you know, obviously for me as well, like I do the whole thing sober. Like, I haven't drunk in 2 or 3 years because of epilepsy.
You tell me that.
It's one of those things where it also is a much, like, for me as well, like a much more positive environment. You know, I get to kind of like have discussions with people, and you know, it's almost like my social fix for the week. You know, but at the same time, my job.
But that's it. That's what people need, though. That's what they need, to have those avenues where they can just escape, right? It's just, it's part of it. Like, it's part of living. Like, you go to work every day as a slave, right? So well, it's the weekend.
You know, I think that's the thing. People take their social interaction for granted, for sure. Yeah. You know, like there is a lot of like, you know, you talk to your mates over Messenger, or there's a lot of stuff that gets happened on social media, but like, you know, if you ever played The Sims as a kid, like, you got a social bar as well, and that needs to be filled, you know? And even if it's,
you need to see people, like,
of course, like, you need to actually have like that interaction, and like also, you know, like, not just to kind of feel good about yourself, but just to like bounce ideas off, and like to, you know, kind of like have that human resistance in front of you, because, you know, like humanizes a lot of it, you know. Again,
That's it, yeah.
I talk to other promoters, and this is, you know, bringing it back to the event space, something I've been thinking about for a while, and like, you know, obviously I know it's not 100% feasible, but I would really love to kind of implement like I give out all sets in person on Sundays, you know. So
all
just
sets. What do you mean?
like, obviously, like, so like you get a lot of messages, right? Everybody, I'm sure everybody that runs events, you know, you get everybody,
people be like, can I play and stuff, right?
of course, and you know, as a DJ, that's almost part of the game. But I feel like something that I've look, even for me, someone that's been DJing for 6 years and runs an event, I can go out to an event and I will get like offered a gig within the next week or so, just from being like present, just from participation. So you know,
a lot of people miss that cue where the whole idea is like, you got to be part of the scene, you got to be go and see the scene, go hang out and meet people in the scene, and just do the whole like who, what, when, where, why, how thing or whatever. Go out and experiment and see, you know, and then that way you can get gigs if you go out and be part of it, right?
And like, look, if you need to force yourself into it with this intention of like, okay, I'm going to go out and network and hopefully I'm going to like get gigs or I'm going to do whatever it is from that point, then like, so be it to get you into it. But like, I think when you've been like I said, is especially for me, because like I'm not drinking, so I don't have this like element of going out to like party in that sense. So like that social interaction is really, you know, important. And even when I'm going to other people's events and socializing there, you always feel better afterwards. And then, you know, all of a sudden, just by kind of being present, being pleasant, the gigs and stuff will roll in as well, you know. And then I get to express other sides of myself. Like I play for, you know, like DS events quite a bit, which is completely worlds apart to what we're doing with Restless. And
tell those guys I want to get them on here.
Oh, honestly, yeah. Like,
wait, here we go. Okay, what is Josh saying? How does Zac balance passion and creativity with the business aspect of the events? Find it hard myself to strike it right. Damn.
Like, I mean, you are, like I said, that's the thing that we were talking about before, really trying to kind of like, it's hard because like, look, I'll be honest, like obviously at the moment with this like transition and the growth period, like I'm not financially like rolling in money, you know. It's like this thing of like,
well, no events really make money. No. It's so difficult, like unless you're a Seasons, right? Like,
and like, you know, there's
Dizzy Rascal.
and then look, there's been plenty of times where I've had to pay DJs out of my rent money just because, like, you know, for whatever reason is happening. So like you do have to kind of almost care about it in like a sense that's like I almost feel like I work for Restless, right? Even though I'm the person that makes the decisions, it's almost like I'm serving something that, especially with Sundays, like is higher than myself almost, you know? And even if Restless doesn't make a single dollar, and like when I say dollar, I mean profit, right? It has to not be about that, and know that if I continue to push it, the dollars will come.
It's about the passion. That's the thing. It was really funny. So I was just sitting out on the couch just before with my roommate, and I was just hanging out there, and I was just like sitting on the couch like, I don't want to do a podcast tonight, but I got to do it. And she's like, wait, what? And I was like, I'm just too comfy on the couch. But the thing is, like, it's consistency, and like 100%. From what Josh has just asked just then, like for me, I reckon you kind of like have to take your thoughts back to why you started it in a way.
Certainly.
And all the fun things and all the memories of why you do what you are doing.
Well, like, I don't know if it's as a result of Restless or if it's something that I've done in the background which has then benefited Restless, but I definitely had to like change a lot about myself from when I started, you know, like just to kind of
more business
manage
oriented, or
like I think just lifestyle orientated, you know. Like when I first started, I was like still working a full-time job. Restless was kind of this like side project, and when I first started, the only thing I said is if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right. And that was always the mentality I took. But even still for the first year, 2 years, like, you know, like still jumping on the Xbox every chance I got, you know, like because
a new game comes out, why not?
Yeah, exactly. Like that was the thing. But you know, I almost came to like a crunch maybe like a year and a half ago where I really kind of had to, you know, like really like change a lot of things, you know. And like now it's this thing of like realizing that looking after my health is almost the most important thing, because that's my tool to do my job, especially with the epilepsy and stuff like that. Like if I'm not looking after it, seizures come and I lose gigs, you know. So and then on the other aspect as well, like, you know, for someone that played video games from the age of like 3 onwards, like I, you know, one day just like gave it up and threw it all away, and then now it's almost like because everything's online, I'm still on my computer. I'm just doing something stuff, you know, like instead of being like, hey, come check out my Minecraft base, I can say come to my event on Sunday, you know.
So I talk about this on the podcast, right? So can we Google this? I think in the last like 4 weeks I might have mentioned this twice, I hope not, but can we Google Game of Thrones every single episode, how long it will take? And it's like 150 hours or something. It's
crazy.
And the thing is like that everyone jumps on that bandwagon. It's like, oh my god, have you seen the new episode? But it's like, for me, I look at that and go, I would much rather be doing something productive. The new Stalker 2 game came out, right? Heart of Chernobyl, and I have to say it is exactly like the 1997 game. It's just like in the Unreal Engine 5. It is incredible. It is beautiful. I'm so happy I'm playing it, right? But I have to I basically treat myself to it. I do like 4 hours or 5 hours worth of computer work, right? And then I can play video games. And or like clean the house or do this or do that or whatever. Like, it's prioritizing.
Well, to be honest, I honestly think that the biggest thing, the overall change that I guess has had to kind of like happen with my life in general.
Sorry, it was 70 hours, not 150 hours. But it's still, that's a couple of days.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, like I said, like it's not that you have to like eliminate all of these things. A big problem for me was always discipline. You know, I would be one of those guys that would be like, cool, I'll like work until 5 p.m, do what I need to do, and then I'll just play video games until my eyes fall out. And like, you know, just never had the discipline to like, you know, then obviously I'm going to bed late and then waking up late, and then my weekends are full on. So then, you know, it just got to this point where, you know, obviously I kind of had to like you said, prioritize.
Everyone's got to do that at some point. You have to. It's part of growing up, and that's where, like, honestly, running events, it's like even running this, and then like we're doing that Sunsets on the Swan thing now as well, and it's like trying to run this business, then run Sunsets on the Swan, then work a day job, then DJ on the weekend as well. But it's priorities.
Of course,
you have to like analyze like your whole like. I found, like, it was a while ago, I found that I just took a step back and I looked at everything and I'm like, well, what's making me money? What's keeping me going? You know, like, look at the priorities. And then readjust from there. So.
And like, just like I said, you know, like I don't have a job. Like now I'm very, very fortunate to the position where I was able to quit my day job and now obviously kind of like do, I guess what you would say, entertainment full time, right?
But then, so how has that been? And when did that happen? And like, what's it like just doing that? Because
it's been different.
I DJ'd full time for like 4 or 5 years, right? And the thing is, summer was great. Winter sucked shit. Unfortunately. But I loved every day of it, and I had so much free time to work on projects and do this and do that. And in all honesty, just the last thing I want to say as well is like, now that I've got this day job and now I'm working like 40, 50 hour weeks sometimes, right? It's like I realize it's like when you fucking do this shit, how do you get anything done?
I feel for it. Like, you know, that's the thing. I feel for people that are in that transitional stage, and it is something that it takes a long time. And like, again, I'm very, very fortunate to have been, you know, presented an offer where I can kind of like, I've started like a consultancy thing on the side where, you know, I can kind of work still within the entertainment industry, make enough to feed myself and not have to worry about whether, because like, if I thought I was going to live off Restless, it's not going to happen, at least not in the near future, you know? So it was like, okay, how can I do something that's still in the industry for myself and, you know, also benefits Restless by extension? And very, very fortunate that an opportunity like that came forward. But when I was working a full-time job, there literally just was not enough hours in the day. So you know, obviously I was working 40 hours a week, finished on Friday, was doing whatever DJing and then trying to get the event ready for Sunday.
You're working 7 days a week technically.
I just burnt myself out, you know, like, and then that was the thing. I kind of obviously made this transition, and, you know, it is one of those things where they're like, oh, quit your job, they said, you know, because it's
entertainment, right?
It
might work.
It's definitely been challenging in a lot of ways. You know, there's moments where, you know, I think the thing that I miss the most is having a payday, because you know, you roughly know when venues and when other labels are going to pay you for your work, but there's no guarantees, you know. So like you can get to the point sometimes where you're like sitting there and just being like, you know, watching things bounce, and you're like, okay, all of a sudden, you know, you're in a bit of a tricky situation. But
you're right. I have to say as well, like, for me, being able to balance things, having 2 or 3 sources of income, that's the way to do it. 100%. I reckon that's the way to crack the code.
Yeah.
Because then it's like you might get paid, as you said, it's like you might get paid fortnightly or something, but that's your payday every fortnight. You know that's coming in.
Yeah.
And then it's like you have stuff that might be weekly or it might be fortnightly or whatever. But then once you get into that stage of money comes in every week, then it's like, I reckon it just, you enter this new realm of just like, it's not... Money problems still exist.
Certainly, but I definitely look at it in a much different way. Like being a, you know, like quote unquote business owner, it's one of those things where instead of like when you work, you're almost limited by like how many hours you can put in at your job. Exactly. But then like when you are running a business or, you know, in multiple businesses to keep things afloat, you're only limited by how much work you put in.
That's it. If you don't do it, you don't get paid.
But also as well, there's no limit. But there's also no limit on that, right? Like if you sit there and go, okay, I'm going to work 70, 80 hours a week, and trust me, I work significantly more now than I ever did before for far less money. But there is this overall sense of like accomplishment, pride. Like, you know, there's those nights, especially like, you know, bringing it back to the Restless thing, like there's those Sunday nights when, you know, it's like midnight, it's like still heaving and people are there and you're just like, you feel like you're doing something important, you know, like, because especially when most of those people do have to get up and go to work on Monday, you know, like, and obviously I'm hugely fortunate that I don't. You're providing
a space, you're providing an energy, an atmosphere, you're providing music to people that can come and hang out, socialize, and just have a good time.
And like opportunities as well. That's like I said, going back to the fledgling thing, that's a big thing for me. Like I got on my nerd role and designed like an administration app for all of Restless, so like, you know,
I remember you saying something about that the other day.
So I can like keep track of all the events and like all the DJ gigs that I have, and, you know, basically, you know, keep track of all the DJs that we've like ever played for us and stuff like that, you know. And you know, I look through it sometimes and it's crazy to see that, you know, there's, you know, like over 300 DJs and like over 700 gigs that we've given out, you know, and like
that's crazy,
amazing. Like I love that. I love the fact that it's like, okay, cool, like to be able to see those numbers going back to the RS thing, you know. It's like it's
happening.
And you don't see it when you're doing it, because obviously for me, sometimes like I rock up to Restless and people will come to me and they're like, oh, I'm super excited to play, and I'm like, oh, I didn't even know you were on this week, you know, because I'm like planning 5 or 6 weeks ahead, but still having to show up every week to kind of like participate.
That's it. That's why I ask what episode it is every time. It's like, I don't know, 220 something. It's like, I know, but at the same time, it's just like, it's like, that's why we announce at the beginning of every episode, because we've done so many bloody episodes.
It's almost a reminder to you as much as everybody else.
That's it. And the guests that, holy shit, this is 225, right? Or is it 226? Ooh. Okay, no, he's right. 225.
Yeah, and like, you know, I guess that's the beauty of it, when you kind of do hit those little milestones, like when you hit 100 of something, or you know, when you get to sit back and you get to have like a really successful one, then you actually are like, oh, like, you know, because obviously I'm sure anybody that's in the event space, anybody that's even in the DJ space will know that like you can go to some events and play to like absolutely nobody, and like when that becomes a consistent thing, that also kind of becomes disheartening on any level. So
it's really unfortunate with that, and that's where a lot of people don't realize, where it's like when you go and play, exactly that, you go and play a gig and it's like doesn't go the way you want it to go, and it's disheartening, and it can make you, it kind of snaps you out of that situation of like, out of fantasy in a way.
Certainly,
because like when people go on DJ, they kind of enter their own world of just like pumping the tunes out, having a great time, focusing, enjoying themselves the whole lot. But all it takes is just something to go wrong. Yeah. And then they're just like, panic mode. Like,
yeah, of course. I mean, whether it's like, you know, technical difficulties, or, you know, you load your track into the wrong deck,
or
which I mean, we've all done.
Or,
exactly.
Who knows?
But I think, you know, like the other thing as well that I've really enjoyed is so partly of what I'm doing for, you know, keeping myself fed at the moment is like I do a little bit of commercial DJing on the side. And for someone that came into the scene, straight into the underground scene, and only ever played house parties, clubs, like all of that other stuff.
Josh, you converted.
So like, and there's a lot of DJs that you see come the other way, right? Like they come from this thing and they go, I played 6 months in a bar, and then they step into a club, or they try and go the other way. But honestly, I suggest to anybody, do it the other way, because I played for 5 years, you know, and I've played to, like, you know, handed over to international artists, played festivals, but there is nothing more humbling than standing at a pub, playing some, like, you know, reasonably good music, and have someone ask you to play Taylor Swift. Like, it'll ground you like nothing else that you've seen before. You're like, okay, that's where we are.
That's what's going on. You play 22.
But I think, but it is one of those things where, like, you also kind of like learn as a DJ that there's different aspects of it, because yes, there's a certain degree, especially in the underground side of it, where I'm an artist, I'm trying to like put forward my sound and, you know, like take my spin on it. But, you know, also when you're playing commercial gigs at this stuff, it's a completely different ball game.
And, that's it.
You know, like I was saying before with the playing for DS and stuff, I'm not going to go and play my style of music when I'm playing a techno event. You know, there's a certain level of expression, but there also is a job to do. And I think the biggest trope that is like something that is like, you know, you see as like being a DJ versus a promoter, is there's so many people that are looking for other people to take themselves seriously before they take themselves seriously. And that's
very true.
You know, like you need to present yourself in a way that you care about what you're doing, you know?
That's actually a bit fascinating in a way, because when you do bring it back, it's like the fledgling thing that you were talking about before, right? Where it's like when people bedroom DJs and they send an event, a promoter, their mix, and like, hey, can I get a gig? They're literally on the fence, being like, I hope they book me. I hope they book me. This could be my big break. Like, in a way, I might be able to go and play it. Northridge Brewing Company or something.
I mean, and like there's obviously like huge amounts of levels to the game, but like, you know, again, going back to what you were saying about the fledglings, like I couldn't be more proud of all of them. Like you look at, like, I'll use like Flacco as an example, you know, and there's a few of them and they've all done amazing things, but like someone like him who is now like really pushing it from the platform that we kind of gave him. He did our open decks. He just rocked up one day and was like, here's what I play. I was like, you play the good stuff, I like that. How would you like this? And now he's, you know, he's got slots at Blossom Festival, he's got slots at Lost in Between, he's playing for all these events. He plays over in Melbourne when he went over there, you know, like to see that progression and to know that we kind of like helped a little bit in that.
But that's what I mean. That's like with even, you know, I've said this to Josh a couple of times at the events, right? And if he's probably still watching and stuff. But the thing is like, for what you guys are doing, you're facilitating an area for people that are like-minded to come and hang out and have fun. And then like sometimes you might get muddy and you might look at the negatives and be like, maybe the event didn't do too well or whatever. But you guys have created communities. That's what you guys are doing.
And also just like standing in for what you believe in. Like, you know, as you're talking about like Josh and what the Soon Boys have done is crazy, you know? It's like one of those things where it is like, nobody does what they do, right? So regardless of how big or how small each one may be, you always know that if you go to a Soon party, it's going to be a completely unique experience. And, you know, like even with the places that they do them at, you know, they only do them once or twice a year. So it's like you almost don't want to miss out on it. And they've done that like scarcity thing really well because they created...
The business is designed very well to be able to keep the interest and keep people going to the events. But then it is just Perth being Perth, and it's difficult. That's the problem. But then, like, we cracked 3 million people recently, apparently.
Well, I think this is, like, an overarching theme that you kind of see with all of it, you know? Like, if you look at the drum and bass scene in Perth, like, it is crazy. Those events are stacked to the brim every time. I don't even know where those people come from, you know? But, like, obviously, it's healthier, you know? They're very strong and, like, doing all of that. But, yeah, it is kind of... you need to water it for it to get to that point, and there's like for us, we would rather take a slow, I mean, not too slow, obviously, but, you know, we would rather take a more steady approach and have a crowd that loves what we do. And, you know, New Year's Eve is going to be interesting for this because we're a pretty niche sound, but it's in the middle of Northbridge. It's on New Year's Eve. There's going to be a lot of push for, you know, more commercial, more kind of pop kind of sound. So, you know, we're obviously going to try and do our best to accommodate for that, but within the boundaries of actually what we do, because I think the thing that makes what we do valuable is that regardless of how well or bad it does, we are sticking true to
still doing
this sound,
still pushing through it, and just gonna keep going. That's what you got to do. That's where a lot of people as well, not a lot of people, the idea of pivoting and potentially changing the vibe, the atmosphere, the brand, or updating things, or doing this and doing that, it can be damaging. Hugely. It can be damaging. It's like, imagine if Soon changed it from a unicorn. Everyone knows it as a unicorn, like
the
bear.
Momentum is a hugely underrated thing. Hugely, you know.
It's an underrated thing, sorry?
Momentum.
Yeah, momentum.
Like, even for us moving venue, right? We moved like literally across the road, you know, and like there was still a bit of momentum slow that came with that, you know.
See, just like what Josh said. So wait, just before we read this comment, can you scroll up to Rebecca Black one? And how many comments do we have? Oh wait, Lewis is watching. Okay, so the amount of times he has played Rebecca Black Friday before he played a gig of just music I wanted to hear more of, man. That's it, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, she's back and I think she's made more music. Threatened to leave Nevermind because I was playing some pop song he didn't like.
Well, I mean, yeah, this is another big thing, right? Like, obviously, I think there is a huge misconception, and people think that it's all just one thing, but I think underground music and commercial music are completely separate. I just, maybe I'm wrong.
They are
right?
separate. No, I do agree. Yeah.
Your job as a DJ is different, right? When you go to an underground event, and when, you know, like, your name's on the flyer, you're there, people are there to see you. The DJ is put in a position where people are looking at you, right? So yes, put on a performance. Pick your 15 songs that you think are really good and put them forward. But when you're playing commercial music, and like I said, the amount of times people have said, do you have this artist? And I'm just like, I don't even know who that is. Because, you know, like, now, because I'm not like, I don't like normally listen to that kind of side of music, but I'm now learning that, you know, in these scenes, it's not about putting on a performance, it's not about playing what you like, it's about playing what the crowd wants,
what they like,
you know?
And being able to read the vibe and play what they want in a commercial setting, though. And that's the biggest thing. What Josh has just said here is very interesting, though. So size doesn't matter, it's what you do that matters for whoever the crowd is, big or small.
100%.
And that is the truth, because it's I was saying this the other day to someone, where it's like, you know, if someone goes to a venue or an event and they have a great time, there's a chance it's like 65%, 75% they're probably going to come back. Yeah. But then if they have a bad time, or it's an average time, they're probably going to come back 10%, 15%. Right?
You know, like I said before, with our little small regulars, you know, that small regular crowd, even if those guys are the only ones that show up for the weekend, like, you know, it's going to be good, because when it is the small crowds, it's normally the ones that are...
It's more intimate, it's more fun, right?
They're the ones that are going to come to your events because they love what you do, or they believe in what you do. You know, your big ones is where you get all of your extensions by friends, and that's where you draw a lot of your new crowd in. Yeah. You know, I think there is, and like going back to that kind of like different spaces for different things, you know, like obviously with Restless, we've got the Sunday aspect, but we're primarily minimal deep tech, right? Yeah. Whereas like Soon's a very good example again, where they don't necessarily have like an allegiance to any sort of specific sound, because
that's it. It's a bit of this, bit of that.
Their product is the space that they provide. Yeah. You know, so it's like, you know, if you want to listen to, like, you know, if you want to listen to sing-alongs and you want to listen to that kind of like stuff, there's venues for that, 100%. But I also think that something I'd really like to see is in places like, you know, Magnet House, for instance, right? They've got that spare room. Put like underground crews in there.
What, the upstairs spot?
Yeah, they've got, I mean, I don't know if it's still there, but...
No, it's still there now, but that's always been the cheese room. They won't ever change from cheese room.
But see, again, this goes back to perspective, right? Because from my perspective of being in the scene that we're in, like, the main stage is cheese, you know? So it's like, you've got these like...
They're both cheese.
So you've got these like levels to the game, right? But like, I would like to be able to see, like more, and this is what I'm kind of doing with the consultancy stuff as well, is like being able to find pathways for people to kind of like find underground music, because, you know, like, I'm not it doesn't matter what style of music it is, whether it's drum and bass, techno, house. Like, obviously I'm biased towards house, but whatever the style is, when you go to these underground places, the vibe is so much more, I guess, like, high, because people are there because they want to hear that music.
That's it. Yeah.
You know, when you go to these places which are more commercial, or they're just like a pub or a mainstream club,
like their friends almost, or their experience, or like not even the experience. That it's a different world.
I think what the thing is there's too many different intentions. So when you go to these clubs and it's like, I'm just here because I'm with my mates, I'm just here because I want to drink, I'm just here because I want to fight, I'm just here because I want to hook up.
Yeah.
Whereas, I mean, there is still all of that exists in the underground scene as well, but whichever sound you're aligned to, there's this one unified reason. And it's because we want to hear this. Because if you're someone that doesn't like techno or you don't like house, you're just going to go somewhere else.
Yeah, you won't go to a house event. It's as simple as that, right?
Exactly.
But
you know?
So this is one thing I wanted to ask though. So how do you go about getting new people to come to your events? How do you retain your audience? And because you retain the audience from obviously the consistency and throwing good events and doing this and doing that. But how do you get new people to try and come on and sign up?
Yeah, I mean, look, this is really when it comes down to like you're balancing that side of the coin between obviously having, you know, the sound and then the Sunday aspect. Yeah. So we try and make sure that we normally have about 4 slots on every event. We try and make sure that 2 of them are our residents, which maintain the sound and, you know, like try and set the expectation of what we are. Mm-hmm. But then we always try and have 2 slots that are guest slots, and they are just, you know, by using different DJs and trying to like get DJs to play, the idea is that, you know, more people will be aware of it, more people will find it, and then it will start to cycle through, you know. You can always tell there's a lot of DJs that really like, even it's not about the money or whether they charge or not, it's just about, you can see like there's a lot of DJs that are like excited, they want to bring people and they want to help grow the event, yeah. Because, you know, they're like excited to play for it because they get to be a part of this thing that they've found. Whereas you can also see there are a lot of people that, you know, for better or for worse, are just trying to get as many gigs as they can so that they don't have to work Monday to Friday.
That's it. But that's it. That's where they balance it out. It's like, you know, there are people out there that just do dance, EDM, commercial gigs, and just trying to pay their bills by doing that, by doing nightclubs and stuff. But then it's like, to do that from just playing events is a bit difficult. You have to be not only multi-genre, but you have to be in with all the crews.
Yeah.
To be able to get a gig like... Yeah. And it would never work. Not in Perth, at least, I don't think.
No, I think like there is room for it to grow. Like, obviously, that's kind of what we're trying to do on Sundays. You know, we have people that come from all different kind of events, you know, like people that come from techno events and stuff. And, you know, obviously, because it is lighter and it is more of a social, I guess that's kind of what we are trying to create, is exactly what you're saying, with that like mentality of like, even if you just come here, you might see another promoter from another different event, or you might see another DJ that might put you forward and kind of get that.
Yeah. Well, see, that's where like what Josh is saying, like, you know, like I agree and I don't know, I agree and I don't agree. I don't like pop music per se, but like, you know, having stuff like 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, like the classic tunes of where it all came from, like, you know, inspiration, like, you know, if we didn't have Pink Floyd, we'd have someone else, but it's like they were such a big influence for music at that time. But then obviously how like music is today, I honestly feel like with the underground scene, they usually just get other songs, the samples a little bit, and they just like, they change it. But then it's difficult, like... well,
this is the bleed that you're starting to see now. Yeah. Like, you know, obviously with all of, like, the TikTok stuff that's happening, you're really starting to see this kind of, like, you know, like TikTok techno is, like, a big thing, right? Where it's, like, just, like, a screaming dark techno remix of, like, some pop song. And, like, look, I'm guilty. I got a handful of them as well. So, you know, there is, I guess, you're always going to get this pushback from the purists of like, you know, don't bring pop into it and stuff. But, you know, going back to the idea of having underground stages at main events, I think there needs to be multiple pathways for people to find underground music, because there's a certain amount of like...
You are right with that, actually, yeah.
Yeah, there's a certain amount of passion that comes with it, you know? Like, for me, when I'm going through and listening to all these, like, minimal deep tech tracks that are just basically 8-bar loops for 9 minutes, you know? I get really excited about that, but I've never gotten excited about a pop song, because it's like, it's made for that, you know? Like, there's no, like... And, like, again, like, if you had these places where people could just be freshly 18, 19, go with their mates, and that's where they go, that's where everybody goes, and then be like, oh, we found in this little side room this week there was techno, and I actually really like that. Because I may have told this story before, but when I first found Nevermind and first found house, 3 months before that I was listening to exclusively Aussie hip-hop, and like I didn't even know what house music was, and it was only because I found that I was like,
what is this?
What is this?
What is this world, basically?
And unfortunately, I had a really... Like, I didn't start going to, like, the house events until I was about 24. And before that, I had, like, a really negative view on, like, clubbing and just nightlife in general. But it's because the only thing I'd been exposed to was
commercial.
And
Paramount and stuff, right?
Well, I mean, look, at the time, I was from Albany. So, like, you know, I've been to the Albany nightclub, and it was, you know, obviously... You know...
it's the Albany nightclub.
Yes, well, exactly. It's not there anymore.
Let's pull it up.
It's gone. It's gone now. So...
well, it doesn't even exist.
The building is still there, but no, they shut down this year recently. So
yeah, wow, okay.
It used to be called Studio 146.
Studio 146. Ah, yes.
Yeah. So they unfortunately are no longer unfortunately no longer running. But you know, like there's we'll say talk of it potentially reopening and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so,
temporary closure apparently.
Yeah.
But look at that, 2.7 stars, 36 Google reviews. It
was a rough joint.
Like, can you look up Magnet House and look up the reviews for it?
Yeah. I mean, like, to be honest, the first time I got into that club was through the bathroom window, and it definitely should not have been in there.
What, the Albany one?
Yeah, so, you know, like, that's, I mean, it's just that thing, right? Like, there's different... And again, going back to what I was saying about, you know, like not being able to...
No, don't go through the actual reviews.
Don't go out. Not here to flame anybody.
We don't need a defamation case against us.
But like, you know, what, like going back to, like, you know, what Ace did with Movement, I don't know if that can be replicated, you know, because that was something that for me, like, for better or for worse, like changed my life.
But see, that's the interesting thing though, because like, remember Amber, right?
Yes.
And Amber was so successful and worked so well, and it was so busy, and then it dwindled off, and then it kind of like collapsed, right? Now the Vault guys, like Isaac and bloody
and what Isaac and Bailey have done is incredible, you know, like the fact that, and I think that's another thing where like I could be wrong on this, but if you're talking about like underground music for that younger demographic of your 18, 19 years, they've sorted it, and I think that is the perfect segue into it. Yeah. I mean, for instance, like, you know,
that is underground basically, right there.
Yeah, like, you know, and it's exactly what they need, you know, like one of our residents, Sean, plays there quite regularly, and you know, he's a very underground artist as well, so you know, I think what they've done is amazing. It's a perfect spot for people to bleed into that underground scene, because they're just going to go there because the energy is high.
That's it. That's exactly, and that's kind of what Amber was, right? The energy was there. People just knew. It's like, oh, well, my friends are going there. It's the new place. It's really cool. It's fun. It's been around forever, or whatever. Yeah. Like, and they just go and explore, and then like, wow.
And the boys really like tie it in well with like, you know, these, you know, they obviously get a lot of really good artists in there. They get a lot of artists that are kind of like on that borderline between, you know, those, you know, people like Dom Dollar. You know, someone that is a really good like. Mainstream into underground, you know, he's someone that you would say, oh, I found Dom Dollar, and then by extension you're going to find a whole new world of underground artists, but it's because you heard that Nelly Furtado track that he did, which is on the radio. So
exactly. That's it, and that's just like how far people decide to dive into it and actually like explore and do the whole thing. But you know, people got to explore. They have to, you know, broaden their horizons, and even from going to events like this with their friends, like see more. Do we have any more comments at all? And so, what else has been going on then? So, oh wait, here we go. Okay, so the marketing, I'm using Facebook insert as little as possible. I found that when I deleted it a while back. Yeah. That's the problem. You have to abide by social media. Like for what Lewis is saying, like when it comes to music and entertainment stuff, it's all social media. You can't not do it on social media these days.
That's something that we definitely really struggle with a lot as well. You know, if you look at the Restless page, we really kind of stick to that nostalgic kind of view of like making sure that there's photos that go up. You know, like we really love when people have our photos as their profile pictures, or you know, there's photos of them with their mates there. And yeah, social media really is, you know, the new playground for that. But again, like, you know, it's very hard not to, like, there's a part of me that wants to go into this whole like making reels and, you know, putting faces up there and kind of like doing all of this other stuff, but then
it's a lot of work.
Well, going back to what, you know, Josh's earlier question about like balancing the thing between what art and business, there's been plenty of opportunities for us to diverge, or plenty of opportunities for us to change what we're doing, but it's just about sticking to it and knowing that if you do it well enough, then like the money and stuff will come later down the track. I don't want to change what we're doing and then all of a sudden our style of music becomes the biggest thing in the world. Yeah. I mean, look at Chris Stussy at the moment, you know? Like.
That's it. So what was the last comment? He said the underground stage at big events needs to be consistent. Even if you get a few people engaged with it, you've been given the pathway beyond Rihanna.
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, it's the pathway beyond. That's what is so crazy, because it's like when people talk about music, and it's like you talk about pop music, it's like the internet, right? And it's like you have the surface level of the internet, but then there's like a whole world, an ecosystem, everything below it. Yeah. And it's the same thing with music. And some people might like hip hop, and like you said, just stick with Aussie hip hop. Yeah. But then you show them like French horn music, and they'll be like, "That's not your thing. They don't like it." But the French horn players might like it.
Yeah, like I mean, I'm definitely getting to a point now where, like, you know, especially within like underground club music, I definitely like appreciate all kinds of music. You know, like when I play these techno sets, it's a completely different kind of like energy, but it's again something that, you know, like I feel passionate about because I have to go and find that. You know, like. Yeah. It's very easy to kind of like, you know, jump on the radio or like jump on Spotify playlists and get kind of things like fed into you, and there's nothing wrong with getting music that way, but I don't know, like when you find those songs that you know that like you've discovered, they've only maybe been out for a couple of days, it's an artist that has less than 10,000 followers, and then you play that song and everybody's like
enjoying it.
Yeah, it's like you almost feel happy on the artist's behalf, you know, like, you know, especially with the world being social media and what it is, like people from UK will make music and we're over here playing it in Australia.
That's exactly it. Yeah, and people make music in Spain and potentially play it here and all the other stuff, but that's it. It's like the internet brought us together, but then also ruined a lot of things. But at the same time as bringing us all together, it's so good that we can do stuff like that, right?
Well, this is the hardest like thing that I struggle with, right? Is being a producer of social media versus a consumer, because obviously a consumer of social media takes a lot of my time, but it's also partly, you know, what you're saying about getting new people in. A lot of that comes down to liking and commenting and stuff like that as well, but then also knowing that I require people to consume that social media to actually be able to kind of like make it work.
That's
you know?
It. It's just consistently keeping the ball rolling and getting more people involved, and and just spreading awareness and the whole lot. We've only got like 10 minutes left. Cool. But like, is there anything else that's coming up? You've got an event that you haven't released yet?
Yeah, we got a few things. So like I mentioned that before, we've got so over Christmas or like Christmas and New Year's, I'm playing for Good Karma Music, which is on the day after Boxing Day, playing for Faded Events on their boat party.
Sweet. Yep.
I'll put all of this in my link tree anyway, so there'll be all links to the tickets. We've got Restless Takeover at Lost in Between, so we'll have a few of our guys out there. We've obviously got Restless New Year's Eve here at NBC with a bunch of our guys and a few locals. And then the one that we haven't released yet but is coming very soon, we're doing this one with Faded Events, and we're bringing Alicia to Australia. So that's her first time here. And
how do you spell her name? Alicia?
That's Alicia. If you jump, it's Alisha. But she's a
DJ, right? Producer.
Yeah, she's a producer from the UK. Her tracks are out of this world. So yeah, really excited to have her over. And we're going to do that one at Port Beach. So
that's her there.
No, sorry. Go down to the Alicia artist profile with the capitals. Yeah, right. That one there. I believe that's it from Manchester. Yeah, that'd be her. But the obviously it's on Resident Advisor. Her Instagram is Alicia_DJ.
No, very cool.
But yeah, she's incredible. I have heaps of her tracks. So obviously to be able to bring her across, have her debut in Australia for the first time is awesome, and goes back to what we were saying about bringing the sound.
Sure. No, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. You're bringing someone over who's never been to Australia before, right? To come play over here for the first time. They're like,
yeah, we recently did that with Max Dean as well, and he's doing really well in the UK scene. So it was to be able to also just bring awareness. Now we're also starting to see other people doing it. Like the Houseology boys are doing Chris Stussy and LP Rhythm, which is very much our sound. So to see other people starting to take an interest and try and grow that as well is exactly what we want to see.
Yeah, and that's amazing. Oh, well, anyway, cheers for so much for coming on.
All right.
Yeah, it's been good. Yeah.
Always a pleasure. And yeah.
No, it's been good to catch up because I haven't seen you since a couple of days ago, but then before that it was like ages and ages ago.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously being wrapped up in trying to keep Restless afloat and just trying to do that every single Sunday. But, to be honest, the thing that I think I'm the most excited about this summer is just to kind of get back out there and see a lot of the other events going on, because, it'll be,
there's a lot popping off at the moment.
Yeah,
right?
There's a lot of people doing a lot of incredible things, so I'm really keen to see what Perth actually kind of does over the next couple of years. We've got Solomon coming tomorrow.
Yeah, that's it. Solomon's playing. I can't believe Solomon's playing, and it's just he's such a big man.
Exactly.
And he's playing at Ice Cream Factory.
Yeah, so maybe there's a chance for Perth after all, So
possibly,
really trying to grow things back together.
Yeah. Anyway, cheers for that though.
Thank you very much.
Then next week we have. Let me have a look, because I think I'm going to do the bookings for December. Maybe.
You're gonna have to give yourself a whiteboard.
We have a guest next week. Okay, we got Yanji Beats. Okay, so
nice. Got the crew in.
Yeah,
sick.
Yeah, so we're gonna be talking about trance next week. Trance
very
music,
nice.
and seeing what they're up to and what's going on.
Perfect.
So it's gonna be good. All right, cheers for that.
Thank you very much. We'll see you again soon.
That's it. We'll see you guys next week, and have a good one. All right. Catch ya.
See ya.